This is not an elitist issue. This is a quality of life issue.
You're actually right for once. This is a quality of life issue. You want to ruin everyone's quality of life by outlawing fossil fuel energy, which is 70% of America's energy sector. Fossil fuel energy increases the quality of life for everyone, and you just want to take it all away.
You want to tell people that their concern and their desire for clean air and clean water is elitist? Tell that to the kids in the...
Clean air and clean water. Our air and water are cleaner than ever, thanks largely to fossil fuel energy. Before the advent of the automobile, people relied heavily on horseback transportation, sometimes oxen transportation, and those horses, those animals, would shit in the roads, which would increase the likelihood of disease and illness and bacteria and bug spreading, bugs, insects. Not good. Not good for the quality of air. Additionally, when it comes to the quality of water, you need to clean water and transport water through sanitation systems. I think, if I recall correctly, depending on what report you read, anywhere between 5 and 15% of America's water is, or America's energy is used to clean and transport water. And 70% of America's energy comes from fossil fuels, which you want to take away. So yes, you need, in order to have water treatment plants, desalination plants, and to transport the water, you need fossil fuel energy. You need energy, but largely that energy comes from fossil fuels.
Kids in the South Bronx, which are suffering from the highest rates of childhood asthma in the country. Tell that to...
What does this have to do with climate change or energy? Kids in the Bronx, poor kids in the Bronx who have asthma? Also, it's worth noting that asthma medication, the cost of asthma medication skyrocketed thanks to FDA regulation outlawing CFC inhalers. You know why they outlawed CFC inhalers? It was to protect the ozone layer. And now the new medication, the HFC inhalers, which cost a lot more, meaning it's less accessible and affordable to people in poor neighborhoods, those HFC inhalers are allegedly doing more damage on the climate. So, way to go, big government. Again, what does this have to do with climate change or energy? And it was government that caused this, not big oil.
Tell that to the families in Flint whose kids have their blood is ascending in lead levels. Their brains are damaged for the rest of their lives. Call them elitist.
Again, what does the Flint water crisis have to do with energy or climate change? Was it big oil that made the decision for the city of Detroit to stop selling water to the city of Flint? Was it big oil? Was it the Super Koch brothers that made the decision on behalf of the city of Flint to switch to their emergency water source, which was built in the 70s, which caused the Flint water crisis? Was it Charles Koch that got on TV and drank a glass of water and said, "Hey, everyone, all your concerns, they're meaningless. The water in Flint is safe to drink." Oh yeah, that was the mayor of Flint. The Flint water crisis was a failure of government from the top bottom. But again, I don't know what the fuck this has to do with climate change or energy.
You're telling them that those kids are trying to get on a plane to Davos? People are dying. They are dying.
People are dying. People are dying. The climate-related deaths from floods and droughts and storms are down by 99% since 1932. People are dying. Climate-related deaths, why are they down by 99% since the 30s? It's largely due to fossil fuel energy and the fact that we can mass produce goods and services for cheap and efficiently. Not only that, but when there's an emergency, when there's a hurricane, when there's a mass flood, we're able to mobilize those goods and services instantly and efficiently, thanks again to fossil fuel energy, which you want to take away. Good job.
And the response across the other side of the aisle is to introduce an amendment 5 minutes before a hearing in a markup. This is serious. This should not be a partisan issue. This is
serious. It's so serious that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez apparently encouraged her Democrat colleagues in the Senate to not vote yes on the proposal that she wrote.
Issue. This is about our constituents and all of our lives. Iowa, Nebraska, broad swaths of the Midwest are drowning right now, underwater. Farms, towns that will never be recovered and never come back.
You hear that, folks? These farms, they're never coming back. They've never had to deal with storms or crises before. By the way, again, the floods in the Midwest, in Iowa and Nebraska, was it big oil that put those put the water on those farms? Not to mention, how do you think these farmers grow their crops? How do you think they farm? How do you think they power their tractors and the machines that they use to farm more efficiently? Oh yeah, it's fossil fuel energy. Not to mention, in your little Green Leap Forward proposal, you wanted to regulate cow farts and cattle out of existence to fight the climate. And now you're taking the moral high ground with the farmers? Get the fuck out of here.
And we're here, and people are more concerned about helping oil companies than helping their own families? I don't think so.
I don't think so. False dichotomy. Helping oil companies over helping families. A lot of times, in order to help your families, you need oil. If you need to give someone a ride, you need to help someone move. If you're raising a family and you need to heat and power your house, how can you keep the electricity on when oil and natural gas and coal electricity are all against the law?
I don't think so.
Not to mention people who have retirement funds and pensions that are invested in oil companies. Oil's a pretty good, pretty reliable investment. They're somewhat immune to financial crises and depressions because people are still going to fill up their cars with gas and buy electricity. And they pay pretty good dividends.
This is about our lives. This is about American lives. And it should not be partisan. Science should not be partisan. We are facing a national crisis. And if we do not ascend...
Again, we're facing a national crisis, and she encouraged her colleagues in the Senate to not vote yes on the proposal that she wrote.
...to that crisis, if we do not ascend to the levels in which we were threatened at the Great Depression, when we were threatened in World War II, if we do not ascend to those levels, if we tell the American public that we are more willing to invest and bail out big banks than we are willing to invest in our farmers and our urban...
Who was really on board with bailing out the big banks? Is there like a poll or a study on this? Were most Americans on board with bailing out Wall Street? But again, I don't know what the financial crisis or bailing out banks has to do with climate change and energy.
In our farmers and our urban families, then I don't know what we're here doing.
She said, yeah, well, we'd rather invest in banks than urban areas and farms. Meanwhile, what the Trump administration, they approved $800 billion, $900 billion in subsidies to the farmers? Or was it 800 million? I don't know. But the farms are heavily subsidized, and so urban areas have been subsidized since the advent of the Great Society programs under Lyndon Baines Johnson. It's not like they have any lack of fund. Didn't Detroit get like $3 million or $3 billion from the federal government when they declared bankruptcy?
I don't know what we're here doing. That the government knew that climate change was real starting as far back as 1989 when NASA was reporting this. And the private sector knew way back in the 1970s. So we had until around the time I was born to address this issue. I wish it didn't have to cost so much, but I'm going to turn 30 this year, and for the entire 30 years of my lifetime, we did not make substantial investments to prepare our entire country for what we knew was coming. So now it's coming all up at the end. It's like when we live our whole lives and we don't eat healthily and we don't move and we pursue unhealthy activities. And then at the end of our lives, our healthcare costs are very high. We have the choice to...
Healthcare costs are high thanks in large part to government involvement in the healthcare and health insurance industries.
Lower the cost now, because I can tell you the cost of pursuing a Green New Deal will be far less than the cost of not passing it.
The cost of pursuing the Green Leap Forward is going to be the quality of life and freedom in America.